Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and my podcast, Becoming by Nqobileh.
What's up?
I'm a regular back on our channel today because
I'm back by popular demand.
Literally by popular demand.
I was trying to let her do an episode alone, but I was pulled into this, and it's like I can't do this without you. Like, you just have to be a part of this. And I mean, what husband would I be if I didn't choose to support my wife and come onto this podcast once again? Yeah.
Welcome back, you guys. It's so good to be back. If you're new here, welcome to my podcast, welcome to my channel. My name is Nqobileh and this is Husbay.
Mawanda Mapumulo. Yeah, man, it's good to be here.
And it's good to be here. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, engage. Check both of our pages on the socials, and just let us know what you guys are thinking about our content. What are some of the things that you guys would like us to cover, and just let us in on what your thoughts are as well, so that we can also help grow our channel and make sure that we're doing content that's tailored to our audience. But before we get anywhere or any further, I really just want to thank each and every single one of you guys. The supports that you guys have shown me and my husband in the past couple of videos since we re-entered the YouTube space this year has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So I really just want to thank each and every single one of you. Every share, every like, every DM, every comment, every subscriber. I see you guys, we see you guys, we appreciate you so much from the bottom of our hearts. And honestly, you guys make it worth it. You make it worth setting time aside every week to, make content and, So today's topic is one that I sort of started introducing on my Instagram page, where, I just started engaging a bit more or more consciously about things that are surrounding men's mental health.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot has been happening in our South African context, but also in the world, also worldwide, just regarding the area of men's mental health and more specifically Black men's mental health. I mean, in South Africa, we just recently lost one of the greatest icons of our time, Mr. Ricardo Mercado. And I was really taken aback by how personal Ricky's death felt, not just for me,
but to everyone.
I really saw us come together as a country and mourn the passing of Ricky. And I think one of the things that also made it hit home so much was the fact that it was a suicide. And we know how important men's mental health is, but it's like a different eye opener when you actually get to see that, oh my gosh, it's real, and it's not just people, regular people that you and I that face mental health problems, but even people in the limelight and in the spotlight also go through mental health related challenges.
Yeah, it's true. I think also the thing that really hit about Ricky was firstly the type of person he was.
Yeah.
He had so much of energy for everybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you didn't know him, just by listening to a song of his, your day is made.
Yeah.
And it's set in the right direction. Every single person who's ever said they've interacted with him, he was a Tupac of our generation.
Literally.
He was the person who believed in everybody. And he was the person, if you really didn't know him, when you look at him, you think, Uguti, you know what, I actually want to be as happy, as ambitious, but also as humble as that person. So I think with all of that put together, when this happened, everybody was so taken aback because of, I think it's more how much everybody loved him for who he was. And because of the love that everybody shared universally, but also not just him, because of the amount of things suicides of people that we've lost in the past couple of years, it was almost like the bottle was full once again.
Yeah, it's a iceberg.
and Ricky was just sort of like the last straw where everybody just couldn't take it. Everybody, as a country, all of us were just. It hurts.
Yeah,
It
I think
really
also
hurts.
just touching a bit on that as well. Like, the stats say it. Like the stats are actually proving that the suicide rates of men have drastically increased
Black
over the
men, to be
past
specific.
couple of years, and black men to be specific. But men of all racial groups, like men are more susceptible to using suicide as a way of as an outlet, or like as a way of dealing with their problems. They're more susceptible to doing that compared to women. And obviously there's a whole lot of dynamics and social cultural constructs and religious and cultural and all of these other dynamics that make it more common around black men,
Yeah.
and I'd like to speak about that a little bit. Like, I'd like to touch a bit about that you're a black man, you grew up in a predominantly black environment, you know, and you've been in spaces with people, like we have friends from all different variations and all different cultural and racial groups.
When you talk about a rainbow nation,
that's us. But I want to find out from you, like, I know the stats say it, I know that people speak about it, and I know that, everybody has their own thoughts as to why it may be so common amongst our men of color. But just based on your personal subjective experience and your personal journey, why do you think that black men or men and men in general, why do you think that we're seeing such a drastic rise in suicide rates?
It's such an interesting question. And I know I won't mention everything, so I think for all the men out there that are watching this, before I even answer, I know I'll leave out stuff. It'd be nice for you to engage in the comments and also speak about why you think it's so. But firstly, I think it would be very irresponsible of me not to mention that mental health matters for everybody.
Yeah.
For everybody, literally. It does matter for everybody, but sometimes when you are painting a picture, you realize that certain areas might need more work than others because you've worked on this area for a lot. And I think the black men part of it, men and subcategory black men part of it is coming from there, that because of so many things that we are coming from, now we're realizing, wait, this picture's been painted, but there's certain areas that haven't been touched, haven't been recognized, haven't been seen.
Yeah.
All right, so it's hard to answer this question because it involves so many things and so many dynamics.
Yeah.
But I'll try unpack it as best as I could. But I think the challenge comes from just how we brought up in our culture, how we brought up in society, just prehistoric, where we come from and how we haven't transitioned to where we are. Where am I coming from that? If we look at it in the African context, we come from kings and from kingdoms, and the way of life was much simpler back then. The way of life was, there were no jobs as per se, and there was no money, there was no currency, meaning that we were able to define life for ourselves. We were able to have a community, we were able to have families, and we were able to break it down. And the role of a man was easier to know. The role of a woman was easier to know, and was easier to understand because of that way of life and that way of living. And life was beautiful. Life was amazing. You knew, if I'm serving with the king, this is what I do. If I'm a community leader, this is what I do.
The roles were clear.
The roles were clear.
The expectation was clear
exactly.
as well.
If I'm a father, this is what I do, and this is how I do it. This is how I look after my family.
So you sort of, sorry to cut you, you sort of graduate into your role with a clear vision and a clear direction
Yes.
of what it is that you need to be, and the people that are around you as well have clear-cut expectations of what is it that they can expect from you, and vice versa.
And also remember, we had ceremonies.
Yeah.
When you reach of a certain age,
Yeah.
there's something that's happening. When you reach a
Yeah.
certain age, there's something that's happening. When you reach a certain age, you get taken from the boys to start sitting with the men. Then you start listening to conversation that they speak about, and they help you with, okay, this is the step you move on from here to here.
Yeah.
This is how you treat your wife. This is how you bring up a family. This is the way of how we do it as a people and as a nation. So I also want to start off there that it hasn't always been like this, because we did have a way of life. And fortunately, or more unfortunately than fortunately, things changed when more...
You're looking for a politically correct way.
No, I have to say it how it is. When the way of life changed.
Yeah.
So when the West started coming in, when money started coming in, and you know,
the whole globalization movement. And
so when that happened, remember, Uguti, we have a way of life. When the transitioning was happening now, we didn't have the capacity and the foresight at the time to see, Uguti, we also have to change how we've been doing things, because there's a new system that's been introduced. But also remember, when people and travelers started landing into our land, there was no expectation of we have to change our way of life. It's like we're sharing what we have with you. Over time, what then happened was that the rulership changed in a sense that we're now taking over your land. You know, just so I mentioned this before people start posting stuff. I'm just saying it like how it is. So that we can actually move forward as a generation and
also to just build context.
And to also build
as
context,
well. Like it's not a bashing or a...
No, it is what it is, guys. We just...
context.
Plus, I truly believe that we are the generation that can actually now start speaking about these things. Hence, we are here now. Okay, fast forward. When that started changing and the system started changing, the rulership that we had over our land was stripped away from us, meaning that the methods that we had as a people was also stripped away from us.
Lost.
But also in the stripping away of that, this is really to bring, I don't know all history, but from what I know, is to bring context. Now, what started happening is that those roles and those family systems and those things that we had as people, in order for us to be ruled over, men used to get raped in front of their families. Men used to be degraded in front of their families. We weren't allowed to do cultural practices because the colonization was now taking over. And in order to take over the land, we need to take over the people. To take over the people, you have to destabilize the family system. To destabilize the family system, cut the head. So the head was cut. You can't fully be the father that you want to be and the man that you have to be if people are rocking into your home and you're being beat up in front of your family and your daughter and your wife can see that you're not our protector. So it really, we look at it from a now concept, but that's where it stems from. And as that's happening, there's a financial system that's involved. So now what happens? Ubaba leaves from Emakaya, has to go to the mine. There's nobody here back home. They have to start working to provide, because now the way we lived and we had cows, we have agriculture, has changed. So the roles have changed now.
The roles get switched.
But when the roles start changing, it's happening so rapidly that it's hard for us to now
get a grasp.
Get a grasp of, guys.
Or change around that as well.
We have to
adjust
live.
our ways around the change, because change is good.
Change is good, but not in the way that it was happening. Not in the way that it was
Mm.
happening. It's not, because the whole point of it was to destabilize what was there, so that we can rule.
Yes. So it could have gone a different direction. Provided, obviously, like a whole lot of things.
There was a lot of, I won't go into the conversation, but it could have gone a different direction. So in the destabilizing of the black man and who he is, his identity, and the way of life societies were then built, to furthermore make sure that this continues to happen, we now going to separate how people live. Now I'm fast forwarding. You know, we're going to make sure that the black man lives in the most lowest part. And as the color goes, we're going to develop different areas to live. As the color goes, different areas, then the more affluent or the people that are in power are going to live in these areas. Now, I'm saying this to further say that this is further putting a stamp on making sure that from the time they landed and destabilized, it continues to now. That's why every time we have conversations, I always say that the biggest thing for us to recover as a people is to actually restore the family system.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening, bring it back to our generation, now I'm fast forwarding. Now I have a father who's 2 generations back before that, who's had things that have been passed down to him, responsibilities, all of those conversations that they used to have were no longer there.
The guidance
Is no longer there, but now he also has burdens of himself because of the expectation of him having to perform in that time. And the expectation, I mean, my dad was put in police vans, handcuffs tight. They'd drive around to hurt him. They'd come fetch him from home. He's experienced so much of police brutality. My dad has found his brother dead, stabbed 32 times.
Yeah, that was hectic.
For a couple of days, rotting, smelling.
Yeah.
He's been through so much.
He's experienced a lot of trauma.
He's experienced a lot of trauma, but not just his trauma. The trauma of his forefathers. Generational trauma that he's experienced.
Yeah.
So by the time I have to now grow up as a man, he's just doing his best based on the resources he has, but based on the person that he is at the time.
And based on his experiences as well.
And based on his experiences.
Because our experiences change our lens and what we behave based on where we've been and what we've learned. So he's parenting you as best as he can, but also with the burden of his generational trauma and also with the burden of his previous experience.
With the things that he's dealing with in the dark.
As well.
Yeah, by himself. So then it comes down to that. He's doing his best, and I can recognize that he's doing his best, but I can also tell that he has his own things that he needs to face, that he has to deal with. But now on top of that, in that, the values of our culture still haven't left us, but with so much of baggage and so much of dysfunctionality. So the thing of the man is a provider.
The man is the head.
The man is the head. You take the responsibility of the whole home. If there's no food, it's your fault. If there's no thing, it's your responsibility. If there's no this, so now we don't just have the normal pressure of where we come from back then, this is what a man is. We also have scars. We're wounded, we're crying. But we also don't have the space to speak about that.
There's no time to heal.
There's no time to heal, and there's no time to speak about it.
The generational trauma as well. It's almost like, okay, it's showtime.
Yeah, and by the time we meet up as men, we're so scarred that we're so scared to reveal ourselves even to other men.
Yeah.
So we meet up and speak about other things, but before we even bring women into the picture, it's hard for us to speak. See, so guys, I'm going through this. Happening.
And for us, the expectation is still there.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Because my grandfather would still send money to my grandmother, even though he was in a different province. So for us, I grew up seeing, okay, as much as my dad is not there, or as much as my grandfather's not there, but he's still providing, he's still making sure that we're eating, he's still doing all of these things. So the expectation hasn't, yes, it's adapted, but it's still there, like the essence of the whole thing that the man is the provider, and if there's anything that anybody needs in the house, you speak to the father of the house. That expectation is still there.
It's still there.
It's still there. We're still expecting things. We still,
I mean, I've felt it, not from you, but from...
Not from me, okay?
Oh, actually, I felt it in general.
Yeah.
But I felt it seeing how the things that I've been through, I had to quickly grow up and be a man and take after the house and make sure there's food and stuff like that. While I'm still trying to deal with my own things that I'm facing. So to fast forward it, and the story is similar across the world, whether it's America or here.
Yeah.
To fast forward it, people are now shocked when these things are happening, but people don't want to really put themselves in the shoes of us. And even our generation and understand where this thing comes from. Yes. So everybody sees this now and everybody's shocked. Like, yo.
It's like everybody's seeing the fruits of it.
Yeah, everybody's seeing the fruits. Nobody wants to deal with the roots and everybody now is shocked.
Because dealing with the roots, is also being brave enough to have these types of conversations, being brave enough to say, okay, listen, we love everybody, like we're open people, but at the end of the day, this is our story. This is the story of the black man. This is the story of, that a lot of people are going to hear and be like, oh my gosh, like they literally hit it on the nail. So the more conversations like these, we need to start with these types of conversations first and deal with it at this level.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
And then we can graduate again to like the different, because it's not that men's mental health is a thing of the now generation.
No, it's not new.
Always been there.
It's
always been there.
Probably even worse before now than now. Because now we have Google.
At least now we have a name for it as well. Like we know what it is.
There's therapy. We know what the solutions are. But after a man is raped in front of his family, as a form of being submissive, there's no therapy, there's no Google, there's nothing for him to have an outlet and for him to speak about, this is what's happening and so forth. So so over time it hasn't got better.
Yep.
It actually hasn't. There's more. It's even worse now, because when you grow up as a young guy, you expect to have certain things. Quickly, you're supposed to have a car. You're supposed to have some things in order.
Supposed to have your life. You're supposed to be the bag.
You're supposed to be the bag. You're supposed to. You're supposed
to have it all together.
You're supposed to be the way out for your family.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be the one that's gonna carry your family, your wife, your sisters.
Yeah.
Ukuti, no, I got you. But while you're hurting and while you're going through so many things, so. That's what I'm saying. It's so hard for me and it's so emotional for me to answer this question because it's stuff that I've personally been through and still going through.
But still processing as well.
Yeah, so to come back to it, men's mental health is nothing new. And it's unfortunate that our leaders are still really failing us in actually dealing with the things that we're supposed to be dealing with. If you look at the previous system, the way it was designed, he studied psychology, sociology. This person knew economics. And one of the few ways to undo the same thing is that we have to deal with psychology.
Yes.
We have to deal with sociology, the economy. We have to deal with all of those things.
You have to tackle it in the same way that it was formed, use the same tools.
But the thing is, there's no resources.
Is there a psychologist in Parliament?
But they're not hired. The posts are frozen.
The posts, in case they're not frozen,
so I'm going back to that, Tuguti. I'm still answering that question, but the system is failing us.
Yeah.
And now it's just reached a place where all of those things that have been happening over, a couple of years,
a lot of it, centuries.
Yeah, that have been happening over all of these hundreds of years and centuries and decades. They've now gotten to a place where it's manifesting in a thing of people think it's social media posts, and it's manifesting in a thing of people think, oh no, this offended them, or it's just this, or it's just that.
Because those also still have
No, they still do. But the thing is, it's manifesting that way. So people don't drag it back to the beginning of
where does it actually
this is where the
come
problem
from?
starts.
Yeah.
But right now, our generation is a generation that's reached the peak.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we just can't take it anymore.
And we don't understand as well.
Yeah.
Because at least you're fortunate enough that you understand the history of your forefathers and you have glimpses of some of their generational trauma, But most of the guys in our generation are just raised by absent fathers, and they don't understand. It's almost like we don't understand how did we get here.
Yeah.
But we're here, and now there's all of these things that we have to deal with, and there's all of these expectations that we have to meet.
Yeah, man. Yeah. This
It's
topic
a
is such a
lot.
wide.
It's
It's
a
such a wide
lot.
topic.
It's
And
a
the thing is,
lot.
we don't have. To be honest, I'm a person of faith, and in our community of faith, there's certain topics you're not supposed to speak about because kuba into yokuthi when you speak about depression, for example, you don't have faith and you don't believe in God, and people fail to draw the line to see ukuthi some of it is, yes, you need to have faith and you need to ask God to help you do certain things, but most of it is that there's practical things that you have to go through.
You can be
and
in
you have to
therapy and still go to church.
Yeah,
God
yeah.
wouldn't have given us the ability to be able to have things like psychologists if he knew that we weren't going to need those things to survive in life, you know?
Yeah, so I'm going back to that, Uguti, as a whole, the resources are not there. The communities are not there.
The awareness,
Our
the
awareness
real
is not
awareness,
there.
the
The
true
government is
essence
not
of the
there.
awareness is not there.
The government is not there.
Yeah.
Most faith religions, churches,
I'm not aware.
movements, they're not aware. They don't speak about it. As soon as you bring it up, you get told you don't have faith. We don't have a place to run to.
The fathers are not there.
The fathers are not there because remember the family system has been destabilized. And I pray to God that somehow we able, with the vision that we have and things that we want to do, we're able to work back towards that.
Yeah.
But what a long way to answer a question. That's where it comes from, and that's where it is.
Yeah, and I'm actually thinking that we're probably gonna have to make this like a series, because initially when we were planning this topic, we briefly planned it just to get like the outline of it. But initially we had like a set of questions that we wanted to go through.
But we realized
But
that
we've
it's
just
actually
answered
deeper.
2 of those questions in like the last 27 minutes.
Yeah. So I think, in my understanding, that's where it comes from. That's where it is.
That's what we're dealing with.
And that's what
right
we're dealing
now.
with. And
Yeah, we're dealing with
in
the
the next
fruits of
podcast,
that.
it'll be nice to now go deeper to find out, Uguti, what are the
do we
ways
do?
that we can deal with it, and what are the ways that we can actually tackle this. But
And
this is
what
a
could
nice
our
introduction
role
podcast
be
to
as
say,
well?
Uguti, this is where this comes from, and this is where it comes. There's so many things to go into.
There's so many layers, and we're obviously not going to we don't have the capacity to cover everything. But we're going to try to expand on it as much as we possibly can.
We're going to ask people questions.
We'll try to bring some people.
We'll try to bring some people
aboard as well. We'll try to get different guests as well. But we just, I think when we planned this topic, we didn't think that it would go this direction, but I'm glad that it did. And I think I'm just gonna try to wrap it up where it is right now with the questions in our heads. Because there's a lot. But let's wrap it up here. Let's wrap it up here so that we have more things to build up on for our next session. But there's so much, like I even wanted to go. I know that I posted something on my Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, like I took husband out for a walk at the beach one of the days, and I was like, what would you like my role? What role would you like me to play as your wife in ensuring that your mental health is prioritized in our marriage? And I wrote a bit about how that conversation went. If you hop over to my Instagram and check that post out. But that's the direction that I want the series to go towards as well. That hey, this is a problem, this is what we're dealing with, but what can we do? What can we do better? What are some of the things that we can try and implement to make mental health really, really matter for everybody, for us, for men, so that our children don't have to deal with the problems that our husbands had to deal with. And so that we finally cut the cord to this generational trauma. It's so funny because I actually that's the next topic that I had planned in mind to do about generational trauma. But it's so weird how it's actually tying up into this series now as well. But we'll see. Maybe we'll take out a short
And I
video
also just
about
wanted to
that as
mention,
well.
Uguti, I hope in the little that we've shared, it sets a light to a lot of people in a sense that whether you're a guy, whether you're a woman, whether you're a guy that's not black, I hope that everybody is able to listen to it, listen to the heart of it, and actually be able to actually sit and think, okay, this is what's happening, and this is where it comes from. But more in a positive light,
not from a way of trying to pick out things that we said and like bashing.
I don't want this thing to turn to
what it's
people
not.
cut parts and post it up. No, I just want people to listen, hear the essence, for our future generation, and so that we know what we're dealing with. I think that's the essence I got just from the little that we've spoken about.
And that's the better way to be prepared for a war. Understand what you're dealing with. It's the same thing that we always say in therapy as well. Understand, unpack the problem so that we know what and if we know what we're dealing with, then we know what tools to use in that as well.
Yeah, so next episode.
Yep. It's about to get lit.
Well, yeah, we'll unpack it.
We'll unpack it a bit more.
We want to hear, I think we also just want to hear, I think the comments that you give here, which we do encourage, will help us in formulating the following episode so that it can be as meaty as possible and we can sort of have as many perspectives as possible so that we can fully
so that we learn as well.
And we learn and we open up and we understand. Uti, what do you see and where do you think this comes from? So that we can actually have solutions for our next couple of episodes. But this is, I guess, turned out to be an introduction to more episodes that are coming soon. 100%.
And remember, this is a solution-focused channel, So we don't bash, we don't just bash. The whole aim is, so what can we do better? What can we change? And how can we help each other? Okay? So thank you guys once more for joining us. And I really, really hope, as my husband has shared, that you really hear our hearts in this and you really hear the true essence of the message that we're trying to relay. And we really do hope that it opens up a safe, honest, vulnerable space to having conversations that haven't been had in the past couple of years, so that we can actually move forward as a people and as a nation, and so that we pass on a proper Banton, like a Banton with substance, and where our children really don't have to deal with all of these things, okay? So take care. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, bring a friend, or have watch parties, and let's just do the most. I'm really, like, one of the goals on my vision board this year is to really, really grow my YouTube channel, and I really need your guys' help and support in doing that. So I would really, really appreciate, even like, make your granny subscribe, make your aunt subscribe, make everybody subscribe.
If you find value in anything that we're sharing, I think please support the effort that's been put and just share and just let's build the community. I think more than anything, yes, it's YouTube, but YouTube is a community, but we also want to build a community within the community. There's people who think like this, and there's people who want to go to a certain direction. So, share.
We love you guys. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Whoa. We're in another direction.